welcome to another episode of the Couch Coaches podcast. And it is a big day today because free agency just started and we have all kinds of movement, except for the one everybody's been hoping for, Aaron Rodgers. But first, with this move, Deacon Greg, I'm going to start with you. Does this make you guys the front runners to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC with Jimmy G as your new quarterback?
Before I answer that, I just want to ask Bill, can I have that Jimmy G jersey, please?
I don't have one. I have the only jersey I have is Jerry Rice and Colin Kaepernick. But thank you for asking.
Actually, it does not make us a contender. No way it makes us a contender. But what it does is it solidifies our quarterback position for this upcoming season. I still think that they're going to go after a quarterback in the draft, and I like Jimmy Garoppolo over Derek Carr. A lot of guys say that they don't like that move, but to me, he's a more accurate passer, especially in the short and medium range passing. He don't throw too many deep balls, but I like his pocket awareness. He moves around. A lot of people say he get hurt a lot, but he's trying. I like a quarterback that tries. My Carr used to fold up too much for me and throw the ball in the ground too much for me and stuff. At least Jimmy G will give you an opportunity, and I think it's an upgrade, and I think we're going to be all right. Go Raiders.
All right, Brother Bill, thoughts on the Garoppolo move to Las Vegas?
If he had some offensive linemen from off the street going with him, then I'd feel better for him. If they can't pass protect, he's going to be a sitting duck. Some of those errant passes in Carr's performance in the fourth quarter wasn't just happy feet. It was because he was getting a lot of pass rush pressure. And run blocking, they were fine. The Raiders were fine. That's why their running back, his name escapes me, had the year that he did.
Jacobs.
But
Jacobs,
yeah. Fourth quarter pass blocking, it was tough. But I like the move for the Raiders. I mean, and nothing. I mean, I think if it does anything, it gets them. Hopefully, gets them at a last place in the division.
That's a crazy. I mean, that's one of those things too, where it's like, that's a tough division. I mean, in the Broncos, you would assume that the Broncos would be better. Granted, they paid $90 million to McGlinchey, but maybe they can make it work there. That one thing I will find I'm very interested in, because I think it's kind of sort of a lateral move. Like it's not a huge jump up. But I'm really interested to see with McGlinchey and with Garoppolo, what do they look like under different coaching? Because I know as a Niners fan, I'm very skeptical of Kyle's pass play scheming and calling plays, and I'm skeptical of them. And if Jimmy goes out there and like just murders in Vegas, and if McGlinchey learns how to block better for passing, then it's gonna be eye-opening for Kyle. I heard one thing today, that one of the big things that they were very concerned about with Carr wasn't necessarily his on the field stuff, it was his locker room dynamic. And I don't know if he seems like he would hang out. Like, it doesn't sound like a Russell Wilson thing where he's kind of separates himself from everybody. But I remember when everything was going down with the anthem and how our team's going to react to the anthem, and do they do this and do they do that? I know that Carr comes from a very conservative family in a very conservative city in Bakersfield. And I'm wondering if the dynamic between him and other players who are not from Bakersfield or maybe not from a super conservative area just kind of rubbed tensions and stuff. And then he cried at the podium last year. And I think just as a personal dynamic is a little, I mean, he's a preacher, and I'm wondering if just he's too preachy. Maybe he's too preachy, like in the locker room. And you see the guy
from my standpoint, from watching Carr, I went to Napa to training camps and watched him the whole time, and for 9 years, he's always been that way. It didn't just happen with the kneeling and all that stuff. He's always been this borderline try to be a goody two shoe. You know, he don't want to make waves in no kind of way. So he's like in the middle. He don't want to ruffle the team. He don't want to ruffle management. He tries to go this fine line, but if it push comes to shove, he's going to go with management. He ain't going with the team, and he's always been that way. And I just never. I mean, if you look at the common denominator and all the players that came through that organization while the time he was there, you know, he's the only one was still left standing, and I think it just finally wore out. That facade or whatever just finally just wore real thin. So I am more than happy to say bye.
And one thing I do think is good, like Jimmy G is a dude's dude. Like the guys on the team love him. You see pictures of him hanging out like in the off season. You see them going to Warriors games. You see them going to Giants games, Sharks games. And you saw that last year when Lance got hurt and Jimmy G came in and got the first touchdown. Like the dudes love him. So as far as a camaraderie perspective, like he's gonna be a fantastic locker room guy because people like him. The one thing I'm worried about is the dude dates porn stars and he's going to Vegas.
Come on, come on.
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Joe, because Deacon Greg, I'm confused. All this time when you're going to Napa, I thought you were going wine tasting, going on the wine train. I didn't know you're going to the training camps.
No, me and my late friend Deacon Walter Mitchell, yeah, we used to go to the training camp and watch them practice. Actually, we didn't go wine tasting, but we did see some Niner fans over there with some cheese and some wine and cheese. I think that might have been you.
It was me. If you saw anyone up there in Napa with cheese and wine, it was me.
All right. Now let's turn to the I want to say debacle, but it's not anything. The Aaron Rodgers, they're signing wide receivers, they're signing people that he's liked. Supposedly there's a list. I don't know if there's an actual list. I know for me personally, if I were a Jets fan, I would be way over it already. Brother Bill, your thoughts on the Rodgers to Jets or not or something situation?
No, I think at some point if you're an organization, they've got a head coach. I said this last week. You've got a head coach in Saleh. They have a decent defense. With Rodgers as a veteran that he is, to leave them hanging, it's unnecessary drama for the team. And I don't know if it's the general manager's call, the owner's call to say, you know what, if it takes all this right now, to me, that just sets and sets an expectation on what it's going to be like if and when he ever decided to go there. Move on, go somewhere else. There are, if not this year's draft of free agency, there are other things they can do in terms of quarterbacking, because I don't think that he's going to be the answer to their issues, even if he did ultimately go there.
Deacon Greg.
I kind of differ a little bit in that. What do they have to lose right now? The draft hasn't came up or anything like that, so it is still early in the game. So play this game until as far and he is an upgrade. I don't know what you mean. If the Jets were to get Rodgers, they would be a favorite to especially win their division and make some noise. So it ain't costing them nothing to play the game with them right now. But of course, like you said, with all that list of receivers and all that stuff, I would just ignore all of that. I wouldn't even entertain any of bringing. Maybe, I don't know about Hobbs. He might be the only person because of the relationship with him and Rodgers. That would be the only person.
Randall Cobb, the wide receiver.
Huh?
Cobb, the wide receiver.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be the only one I would even kind of give any consideration to, just because of their relationship and stuff like that. But Odell and who was the other person? I don't even know who else the other person was. But yeah,
Lewis. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
basically all the old guys from the Packers he wants to bring them over.
Yeah, those guys I wouldn't give any consideration, but yeah, they don't have anything to lose to entertain them right now, So yeah, I keep the door open.
Yeah,
I shut that door and put a lock on it. Chain fence. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Rodgers isn't 34 or 33; he's 39. You could be doing all, and it is a massive upgrade on quarterback. Massive. But it could be for 1 year. It could be all this nonsense, signing all these bad contracts or whatever, bringing Mercedes Lewis over and bringing old Randall Cobb over for one season. And a season when, so the Bills are on the decline, but the Bills are still the Bills. And Miami is going to be a nightmare for that entire division next year because they got Vic Fangio. They just picked up the cornerback from the Rams and paid him a ton. I don't know what I don't know
Ramsey.
what they're doing.
Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey. The rumor, I think they're kind of setting stuff up for something happens with Tua. Brady's going to pop in. Watch. Brady's if Brady plays, he's going to either Miami or he's coming to us. One of the two. That's it. Because he got championship level teams, and his old butt's going to be out there slinging the ball around, winning titles. But Miami's going to be. To me, Miami's going to win the division. To me, even if the Jets get Rodgers, they have no shot in this division. Even in the division, they have no shot. And Rodgers is showing at the end of the year when the games count, like he couldn't beat Detroit at home. And he's going to be a year older. So he's 100% upgrade because their quarterback room is horrific. And it's gotten worse because White went to Miami. But it's just so much drama. And there's only one team that wants him. So it's like they're doing all this stuff and they're not competing with anybody. Nobody else wants them for 1 season or 2 seasons at the best. Watch Raiders. Jimmy goes to New York and Rodgers comes to Las Vegas.
Yeah, but if I was Miami, I'd be very concerned about that quarterback position. You know that you gave him you're putting him right up there, but that's a fragile position for them, and I don't see Brady going. Brady's going to stay at home or going to booth somewhere. He's not playing no football.
But think about how good Miami played Buffalo with a backup. They played them twice within 3 weeks and played them down to the wire both times with nobody's as quarterback. That Miami's something. I want to switch Kyle and Mike McDaniels. I would like him to come draw up the passing plays for us because he's seems to be doing pretty good. I don't know what the Panthers are doing. They traded all their picks, which makes sense, but then they traded their best receiver to the Bears. Good for the Bears. The Bears are making a ton of good moves, but I think they're going to do all this stuff and the quarterback's still mediocre, and I think the Vikings will still get it, the division next year. But the Panthers moved up to the first spot in a weak draft class. I feel like it's the owner just, hey, we have to have the number 1 pick. We got to get this moving. We got this new coach and everything. Let's get going. Deacon Greg, any thoughts on the Panthers just drastic moves to move up in a mediocre quarterback draft?
Well, they started this last year when they started getting rid of their players last year. They sent McCaffrey to you guys, and so they're in a total rebuild. So sending guys away is nothing new for them, and they just trying to see what's out there. You say there's a nothing quarterback, but these quarterbacks have potential. There's at least 3 of them that have potential. So and other draft picks, other positions. So that's all they're doing is just trying to build for the future. And they've been getting rid of players since last year.
Yeah, that's true, Brother Bill.
Yeah, I think for them in that whole NFC South, it's which team can win the division and at the same time try to do it over 500. I wouldn't be surprised if the division winner has an 8-9 record again, just like last year with the Bucks. I mean, that's how weak that division is. It's not a division where there have been some years where the division is tough, and so you have teams beating up on each other. This isn't that division.
It's the opposite.
The year when the NFC West was called the NFC Worst because all 4 teams were struggling. This is like that, and so for Carolina, I agree with Deacon Greg. They were irrelevant last year, and with McCaffrey gone and that portion of the offense when he was healthy, they're going to be even that much more irrelevant this year. And I would love to be wrong. I just don't see it. They have too many holes to fill.
Yeah, I honestly thought that was the team that Lamar would go to, because the owner just put up a ton of money. Nobody cares about the Panthers at all. I thought that he would be the guy, and not that Lamar would fix their issues because you're right. They have a ton of they don't have a good team. But I thought they were going to make the move for Lamar. There were rumors today that the Colts, because the Colts just traded their corner to Dallas, Gilmore.
Yep.
And they're talking about them making room for them to make a move for Lamar, but that would be the same thing. You just bring in a superstar to kind of cover up the fact that your team's terrible and you're not going anywhere, but you have this, hey, but we got this shiny, the shiny toy that's a superstar. Which leads right into Lamar. We've been talking about Lamar every week, and he still doesn't have an agent. He's starting to talk on Twitter, which is not a great sign, which shows he's getting like emotional and stuff. And nobody's making any moves. I'm sure that there's stuff behind the scenes. I'm sure all these teams are putting the thing out there. We're not interested in Lamar. There has to be stuff going on behind the scenes because it's Lamar. And as soon as he goes, I don't need 200 million guaranteed or 230 million guaranteed. I only need 150 guaranteed. All those teams are going to be jumping out. But the more he's waiting, the more the salary caps are getting eaten up and the less room there is to make that kind of a big signing. And how in the world can he go back to Baltimore after all this? Deacon Greg, thoughts on him? Just kind of, he's going to be in limbo. Like he's Rodgers, but it's not his choice to be in limbo.
Yeah, you've been hearing that word collusion going around, that the owners and even now even the agents, they got this collusion thing going. And what is that? That non-exclusive franchise tag that they give, that they said that kind of has built-in collusion because it kind of scares other owners. If I make an offer for you, then your team can match it. So what incentives does that give me to make an offer to for you? And like you said, he doesn't have an agent, so that don't bode well. Even the agents might be like, we can't this guy can't make a big deal on his own because then who needs us? So yeah, there's a whole lot of things going on. I think it's gonna be. I agree with you. It's gonna be hard to go back to Baltimore, but I don't see a whole lot of teams making a move for him. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. That's a bad situation.
Brother Bill.
For the right price, he'll sign if they get it done. For right now, it's all about, I believe, for him just getting paid what he believes he's due. And if it's less than 230 mil guaranteed, but it's something close to that, he's satisfied with it, he'll sign and he'll play. And 6 months from now, that'll be forgotten if the team is playing well. They say winning cures all ills. They just have to, if he's not with the Ravens, then just give Cincinnati the division this year, next year. I mean, again, the Ravens just become an average team at best, and that's at best.
Do you think he'll play on the tag?
That's the right question, because I saw one, and this is just, some fan chiming in saying that he should hold out, even through training camp until they do. I don't know. I've always wondered whether or not, as time goes by, whether or not a player loses their leverage when they do that, because there aren't other teams bidding yet. Again, I don't know who has the leverage right here. Is it still them or him, or does that change? But that's a good question. I would be surprised if he didn't end up signing by whatever deadline they normally have all their players signed. That would be surprising to me.
Well, you say a player loses his leverage. It's something. It depends. It depends on the team where they sit and what their expectations are. You notice how it happens. Well, Dallas, they're a great example. When Ezekiel or somebody is holding out and they feel that they got a run, Dallas thinks they got to run every year, but then they feel they got to get that player in the camp. And I think that's the same way Baltimore. If he's sitting out and they're thinking that we got to get him in the camp, so something might happen. So if I was him, I wouldn't just go right off the bat and go for that tag. I'd hold out. He's been holding out and doing this. He might as well play hardball all the way down to the end.
Yeah, I was a little surprised he played last year, but he seems like such a high level guy That's why the guaranteed stuff, instead of just signing a contract, I mean, like even an average contract right now, he's going to make 40 million a year for 3 or 4 years. And I thought he would be the guy that comes in and is like, okay, I don't have to make the most. I don't have to have the highest thing, because he's the guy that's like, hey, I'm just going to go play in good faith. I'm going to go out and play this season. And the season this year, he had injuries like he had last year, which doesn't help his negotiating at all. I don't see how he plays, but being the 32nd pick in the first draft, he doesn't have a ton of endorsements. Can he financially withstand the penalties and everything that come with not showing up for spring training kind of stuff? Because they have it built into the CBA that the teams can't give the money back. It used to be a thing where, hey, you have $5,000 accrued of penalties, but once you sign the contract, we're just going to wipe those out. Those all stay now. So does he is he willing to give up $1 million? Is he willing to give up $2 million? However much that adds up. Or does another team just get desperate and go, let's just go get Lamar? Who cares? And I think there's that number where it's, if your quarterback makes over this percentage of your salary cap, there's never been a Super Bowl winner. So teams are looking at that going like, he's awesome. He's fantastic. He's a one of one. He's a super unique. He's hardworking. He's gotten better every single year, which is pretty much all you can ask any player to do. He's 26, 27. But if we pay him 40% of the Cowboys are having this issue. If we're going to pay him 40% of our salary cap, like, teams don't win. And we're already in the playoffs with him making this, and we have this strong team around him, strong defense. I would just find it very hard if it was my team to be like, we got to pay him a ton. But he's not saying a whole lot as far as like what he's really asking for. And I think if he did that, he would be able to leverage the visibility of that into a contract with somebody.
Miami.
Well, and that's what people thought, but Miami's paying a ton, man. They gave Jalen Ramsey an extra $30 million guaranteed. All I saw last year were clips of him getting burned.
Yeah, I don't. That's crazy. I've seen him in big games. He's I think on the average, he's still a great defensive back. But when you see him in the big games against the big time receivers,
yeah,
he's like,
yeah, he's not. He's great for like 90% of the league. But when you get when you get in the playoffs, that's the 10% that he can't really cover anymore.
Right.
Any other stories jumping out to you guys? I'm checking Twitter to see if Rodgers signed.
I couldn't help but getting back to Jimmy G and the Raiders. You can still have one less tight end to throw to because your boy Waller's gone. So I don't know what you're gonna do. Oh wow,
Uh,
lots of injuries.
He's great, but he's injured a lot.
You know what? My take on Waller, he got paid. But it's not just him. It's my whole take on a lot of the Raiders in that organization. They get Raider players. They get to this prima donna status with the team. I can name a lot of positions that does that, and then they think they're special. And he seemed to me he did that. He got his money. He got his notoriety. They did the little thing on Hard Knocks and all this stuff, and talked about how he went through his recovery. And then they get this big old head thing, thinking they're there and they done it and all this. So to me, when a player gets, and it happens a lot with a lot of Raider players, they get this status that they're separate from the team. I'm a superstar and you guys are just the team. And so I'm fine with him gone. So yeah, let him go somewhere else. We need team. We don't need. There's no I in team.
You think he's one of those dudes that pays to get paid instead of pays to win?
Well,
I'm mixing that up. I'm tongue-tying myself. He's one of those guys that plays to get paid instead of playing to win games.
I think it just, like I said, I think they just get this superstar status with the Raiders. They think that they think they're Mr. Raider or whatever. I don't know what they think, but and then they just I'm gonna shut it down like he shut it. I'm gonna shut it down when I want to, and I'm gonna work when I want to, and all this kind of stuff. So I like team guys. I don't like that guy that wants to be off to himself or whatever. So I'm good with him gone.
Do you have any concerns about Jimmy G and Devontae Adams?
only concern I do have is I don't know what kind of chemistry they would have on a deep ball. You know, Devontae he likes that ball down the field. I don't know if Jimmy G could get it there. That's my only concern. Other than that, you know, I think they would be fine. Like I say, he's a team player. Jimmy G's a team player. I know he can get him in the intermediate game and in the short game, but I just don't know about that deep ball.
It'll work because you bring out that cart that you have when players get injured. Let Jimmy, like that cart they bring out for players. Let him get in the cart, take the ball down there. They just have to, but Glinty just has to pass block for those 20 seconds to get the ball all the way downfield to Devontae, and you'll all be fine.
Look, this guy right here, the guy that just said all of that. That's why I asked for that Garoppolo jersey, because this guy right here, he had buried Jimmy G about 2 years ago. He buried him. Then when he made that comeback, he was like, he went and dusted off that jersey, which he says he doesn't have. So now he wants to bury him again. That's that guy right there.
All I'm saying is that the deep ball's never been a strength of his, unless they roll him out. The only time he's thrown deep was when they rolled him out away from the D line to give him time to throw deep.
Whatever it takes, baby.
Just win, baby. All right.
Just win.
And that's what that deep ball is one of those things where it's like, okay, granted, he hasn't been accurate when we watched him kind of throw the ball deep, but that's also something like Kyle looks like he just said, never throw the ball deep. And what's it going to look like when you have Devontae, when pretty much you could throw up anything as far as you can, and Devontae should be able to come and grab it, double teamed, triple teamed, whatever. If he's that guy, because I don't know, because Purdy came in and was throwing the ball around a lot more. And people were saying, oh, well, he changed the plays. I don't think he changed the plays. And I don't know if it's Garoppolo is extremely conservative, or if Kyle's just like, man, that ball better come out and only go 5 yards, because if it doesn't do that, like, we're going to have a problem. And I can't tell if it was Kyle restricting him or Kyle being too rough, or if it's Kyle's play calling, or if it's Jimmy. That's what I honestly am excited to see what he does next year, because they have weapons, got an offensive coach. It's indoors pretty much. He's got the best receiver in the game. Jimmy should maximize whatever Jimmy is. Jimmy should be able to maximize that next year.
Keep running the rock. Just keep running. If Jacobs gets you 1,000 yards for the season, you should be in good shape to do something in the division. Just keep running the rock. Don't abandon you got Jimmy G, so you're not only gonna run the ball, less than 30% of the time. That doesn't work in today's NFL.
Well, McDaniels knows him. McDaniels knows what Jimmy has. I mean, that's one kind of good thing, is he's seen him before.
But even when
I
he was in New England,
I see something today. We're bringing in Gronk also.
Yeah, right.
Gronk.
Got rid of Waller, bringing back Gronk. You can bring in Tony Gonzalez back.
No, to Gronk. We're bringing all the Patriots back. Everyone except for Brady.
I got nothing.
All right, well.
Hey, but Bill, seriously, what are you talking about running? You can't just be a one-dimensional team, Bill. Come on now.
I didn't say be one-dimensional. I was saying they were successful in games where they were balanced. When teams become, and I see this. Two criticisms I have of offensive coordinators. Number one, no fullback, right? And so it makes it difficult to run anyways, because you only have certain gaps you can run through, and then you put a lot of pressure on your O-line to open up those holes. And number two, when you become pass happy. And I think if the Raiders become pass happy, and they don't feature Jacobs the way they did this past year, no chance. Just stick with what you did last year with running Jacobs when you can, and then Jimmy G, like you said, will just help augment that. But don't abandon your running game. You guys can run the ball. That's all.
They won't abandon the running game, that's for sure. And I think, like I say, with his accuracy in his intermediate and short game, I think that'll help with the running game even more. So.
And I think one thing that McDaniels will do that Kyle never seems to do, and I don't understand why, are those quick slants. Those Brady special quick slants with like Renfro. Like, those are huge, like the Rams do, and the Patriots did, and Brady does. It's just one thing that Kyle never seemed to implement into his plan. And I think that will be something that'll help Jimmy out a lot, because it's even if the line sucks, get the ball out fast on a slant and your money.
Kansas City was doing a lot of that too in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, guys, I will see you next week. Hopefully next week we have an answer on what's going on with Rodgers, and then we can kind of look ahead to the NBA playoffs, which is going to be very interesting in the West with all these injuries.
Lakers!
Right here.